thank you so much.
I'm getting in the groove now. I'm getting in the groove.
Totally. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. It's a fantastic event you've got going.
Yes. So I love your concept, the rich woman philosophy.
Yes.
And I was reading some things about it, and you'd mentioned that, you know, many women say that I have richness in my life, that I have a rich family, and I have all the richness that I want. Look at all those cameras. And then they say all of that, paparazzi. And
they weren't doing that when me and you were out here. Whatever.
And that richness, you know, if you don't have it in your financial life, then something is missing.
Right.
And so tell us more about that.
Well, you know, they say money may not be the most important thing, but it affects everything in your life that is important. It affects your health care, it affects your level of education for you, your kids, it affects your standard of living. And unfortunately, for so many women, what happens is, especially as we get older, they don't make their financial life a priority until they have what I call a wake-up call. You know, a divorce, a death of a spouse, an illness, a job layoff, and then they go, oh my God, now what do I do? And so many women find themselves in a financial crisis. So the rich woman philosophy is really about empowering women to take charge of their financial lives today, to not have to depend upon a husband, a family member, a boss, or a government, but to depend upon yourself, because you're your best asset.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I was married for 24 years and had no idea. I mean, when having, you know, left the marriage, and it was almost 2 years ago, and I was shocked at how, I mean, frightening it was, because you think, you know, you're led to believe that, you know, everything was going to be taken care of. It was happily ever after, and then it didn't happen. But to take charge of my own life financially was one of the most self-empowering things that I could do, and actually it balanced me spiritually, which is very, very interesting. It's just like you wouldn't think that that would have an effect, but actually you're so right. It affects every other aspect of your life. You know, I'm still working on the rich part, but and working.
No, it's interesting because being a woman who grew up in the 60s, money was just something we didn't even talk about. It was like a dirty word. So throughout my career, I would forget to get paid. I would go to work, pay my musicians, and then I would leave and I'd go, oh my God, my check. I have to go back and get it.
I have never, ever done that.
Well,
never done that.
Well, you didn't grow up in the 60s, right? So that was so when I had a financial disaster and declared bankruptcy. And when I got my life together financially, it was the most empowering thing I have ever done in my life.
I think that's one of the strongest things, exactly what you're both saying, is money it represents so many things, but for women,
it's freedom.
It is absolutely freedom. It absolutely is freedom. And I see women, when they get control of their money and they get control of that financial life, their self-esteem soars.
And what's also really interesting is how women are much better at it than they've been led to believe. You know, I think that we're designed to think that we're not going to be that great with handling it, or, you know, or something. I'm surprised. It's really empowering.
It really does come down just to financial education. I mean, so many of us have not been taught. We've actually been taught to depend upon somebody else. Most of us.
Yes.
And we haven't had the financial education, but it's not rocket science. It just takes some time, it takes some effort. But once you get a little financial education, the women who I know who are investing, who are, you know, becoming financially secure, financially independent, I'll tell you, they're loving it. And they are good at it, and they are smart at it, and they also don't have this thing called ego.
Yeah, very interesting. And I also think what's great about this era is that, you know, it used to be kind of in the 80s, 90s, it was like you're a man with a skirt on.
Right.
And now it's like, no, our femininity is our power, and it doesn't make us a bitch because we have money, or because we have money and power and understanding of it, and I can take control and I can ask for what I want. It actually just means, hey, I know who I am, and this, you know, this is what I deserve, and I'm not embarrassed to tell you that this is what I need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very nice.
That's growth.
That is
young women don't
rising.
do that.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So you're talking about rising.
Yeah.
That growth thing is exactly it. It's when you get to a point where you have to cross that line. You know, you come up to a challenge and you either back away or you cross it. When you cross it, you grow and you learn. That's priceless.
So you're such an expert in this area, obviously. You know, we've all seen you on Larry King and so many other shows, and of course your books and tapes. So what is the common, first of all, before I go in the common denominator, is there a recession going on?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So it is reality.
They're talking about a jobless recovery. I don't know how you have a jobless recovery.
It's called depression.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I mean, I think I'm an optimist and a pessimist at the same time. I'm optimistic because there's so much opportunity that's going to come. I'm pessimistic because I think it's going to get a lot worse.
Okay, and I think that it's great that we faced that because, you know, I was talking to a good friend, Tony Robbins. You're going to throw a name? I'm going to throw a name. Quincy Jones, I was talking to Tony Robbins.
I can't help it. That's my life. I'm sorry.
And
I was in the Waldorf with Obama list.
I dated Frank Sinatra.
What you got for that, Ellie? What you got? What you got?
that's funny. That is funny.
You go, Ellie. All right. She don't have nothing to say to that, right?
I forgot what I was saying.
Lady, you're funny.
So the recession and all of that. So, you know, so the common denominator, and Tony was saying actually that it is going to go. His exact timing was it's going to be like 2016 before we're out of this. And so I'm not going to count on, I personally am not going to count on external variables to change so I can change my life. So I'm going to take control. I'm going to manage. But the common denominator, what do we as women require to do right now in these times to get to the next level?
Two things I would say. Number one, forget all the myths about women aren't good with money, women don't know how to manage money, women aren't good with numbers. That's a bunch of BS.
Think Oprah.
There's a good example. She's the ultimate rich woman.
Tell me about it.
But the second thing is to really the first thing is the attitude. To decide, yes, I'm going to do this. To decide I can do this. And then to start taking action.
Yeah.
And one piece of caution, because I've seen this all over, especially with this crisis going on, is be very careful who you take financial advice from. Because there are people who are there to truly educate you, and there are people that are there to sell you something. And so oftentimes the stockbrokers, the real estate brokers, and I know a lot of them, I've got a lot of good friends, they may be there primarily just to sell you a piece of real estate or sell you a stock, but they do it under the guise of education. So be sure you find advisors who are really out there looking out for your best educational interests.
And how do you know who those people are?
Well, one of the things I look for is I want to find people who are doing what they're selling or doing what they're talking about. So for example, my real estate brokers, they invest in real estate. My stockbroker never gives me a hot tip, ever, and always researches the companies, and every single stock he advises me on, he invests in. So they're practicing what they preach.
Why don't you express your gratitude for Kim Kiyosaki?